Welcome back to the Bitcoin.com weekly update. We've got a breaking news update. ETFs that have been in the news for many, many weeks now. They've been attempted and tried over and over again for years, going all the way back to the Winklevoss twins, who were one of the earliest folks who attempted to get an ETF past the SEC. We finally did it. ETFs have been approved by the SEC, although a little bit begrudgingly. We'll get into a little bit more on that later. We'll be covering off some of the latest drama that we've been hearing with regards to there was a recent hack on the SEC Twitter account, which resulted in some interesting price changes on BTC. So we'll dive right in. This episode is brought to you by our friends over at Verse. Verse is the reward utility token of Bitcoin.com. It allows anyone to trade without permission. No KYC. You can swap with a decentralized exchange on Ethereum. We're launching our upcoming multi-chain swap feature very shortly here. But let's get into the main story. Bitcoin ETFs have been approved. Now, interestingly enough, it happens on the same day that Hal Finney, one of the OG Bitcoiners, put out a tweet saying that he was running Bitcoin. Now, that was back in January 10th, 2009, quite a while ago. Hal Finney has since passed, rest in peace. But an interesting coincidence that this monumental change in Bitcoin's history happened on such an important day that many people honor, January 10th. So kind of a cool little factoid. Yeah, you can see here from Ryan Sean Adams. Now for the PSA, the best Bitcoin ETF is the one you never have to buy. Whenever possible, buy actual Bitcoin, not IOUs, not your keys, not your coins. Now, I think that is going to be a regular thing that you'll be hearing as these ETFs wind up. But it is interesting that we're going to see more institutional buyers coming in saying they own Bitcoin, but really they own an ETF. They own an IOU that's backed by the compliance and legal team at different banks, and it basically allows anyone from retirement funds, family offices, private equity funds, institutional investors, unions, teachers unions, whatever, like they can start taking a position now in Bitcoin, which is kind of interesting. And then the banks, in theory, then have to buy sufficient Bitcoin on their end to host it custodially. So there has been a lot of chatter whether this is good or bad for Bitcoin. I think we'll get into some of those tweets a little bit later, but I think everyone's pretty optimistic that this is a net good thing. But yeah, we'll get into some of these other exciting tweets that we've seen here. So over at Bitcoin Magazine, we see just in BlackRock's website for their spot Bitcoin ETF officially comes online. This was for the iShares Bitcoin Trust. Now, iShares, that is BlackRock for those of you guys who are curious. Yeah, they got a lot of money. So they're in. Let's jump over to Bitcoin.com news. You can see here, Bitcoin.com news shared that the SEC chair, Gary Gensler, warns that the spot Bitcoin ETF approval is not Bitcoin endorsement. Let's go visit our news site here and pull this up. So, amid the excitement surrounding the approval of spot Bitcoin exchange traded funds, U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission SEC Chairman Gary Gensler issued a statement emphasizing that the regulator did not approve or endorse Bitcoin by approving spot Bitcoin ETFs. Gensler insisted that most crypto assets are securities, warning investors should remain cautious about the myriad risks associated with Bitcoin and products whose value is tied to crypto. So it is interesting considering Gary Gensler previously taught a Bitcoin and cryptocurrency class at MIT. I believe even Zuko, Zcash guy, was in some of those classes. There's videos of Gary Gensler talking about Bitcoin not being a security, talking about Ethereum not being a security, talking about other assets not being securities, and then but saying like, it's kind of like, who knows? And then as soon as he got into the SEC, kind of about face. So for me, at least, when I see some of these messages coming from guys like Gary Gensler, it does make me think, well, who's controlling the puppet? We've got clear disdain for crypto from parts of the Democratic Party in the United States, namely Elizabeth Warren, who's been pushing anti-crypto rhetoric, complete nonsense as well, with regards to the dangers and risks associated with Bitcoin. and self-custody. So I think that's probably going to be the biggest attack vector now, given that these ETFs are through. This gives folks that are on the, let's say, extreme opposite of pro-crypto, the ammunition to say, well, just buy Bitcoin through the banks, people. You don't need to use it. You don't need to hold it in your own wallet. That's dangerous terrorist activity. If you want to be independent of the banks, which, as you may recall, in 2023, many were shut down. Many just poof, gone. So, if you want to protect your money, protect your savings, protect your life, and take some ownership of your life, that's not good. But trust the banks. That's the way to buy the Bitcoin, and then you don't need to worry about being labeled a bad boy or a bad girl on the Democratic Party's naughty list. Let's read some quotes here from Gary Gensler. So, based on these circumstances, I feel the most sustainable path forward is to approve the listing and trading of these spot Bitcoin ETP shares. Now, this is kind of funny, just considering Congress had a gun to their head. It was like, you approve these, you're gone. There were some hearings. SEC had nothing. The banks fought tooth and nail to get these things through. Grayscale Investments, which seeks to convert its Bitcoin trust to a spot Bitcoin ETF, was also among the 11 issuers authorized by the SEC on Wednesday to list and trade their spot Bitcoin ETFs on New York Stock Exchange, ARCA, NASDAQ, CBOE, BZX exchange. So we've also got a quote here from the SEC Chairman Gary saying, while we approved the listing and trading of certain spot Bitcoin ETP shares today, we did not approve or endorse Bitcoin. Investors should remain cautious about the myriad risks associated with Bitcoin and products whose value is tied to crypto. Now, of course, that exists across any cryptocurrency asset. He's not completely wrong. Do your research. Make sure you're holding your crypto in a self-custody wallet. Of course, we promote the Bitcoin.com wallet. It's a self-custodial wallet. It's been around since 2017. It supports Bitcoin, Ethereum, Bitcoin Cash, Polygon, Avalanche, Binance Smart Chain, countless tokens, including stablecoins, USDC, USDT. So go check it out. And of course, you can hold your Verse token there as well, which is always fun. Let's jump back into some tweets. Roger Ver, founder of Bitcoin.com, Bitcoin Jesus, put out a little fun tweet poking fun at our friend Gary Gensler and the SEC. The SEC Gov is charged with keeping consumers safe, but they can't even keep their own X.com account safe. Now, this is in reply to what occurred over the past day and a half. So over the last day and a half, there was quite a bit of activity on Twitter. A lot of people assuming that the ETFs were going to be approved either on the 9th or the 10th or maybe on the 11th. It was kind of hard to say. And then suddenly a tweet went out from the SEC's account, which indicated the ETFs are live, and it came out looking very professional. The tweet looked like that was it. Had the official seal, looked very official. Then they quickly deleted it and said, our account was hacked. We were hacked, guys. Now, supposedly, the folks over at X Security or Twitter Security did confirm that the account had been compromised. You can see here, Watcher Guru shared a tweet from Safety X. We can confirm the account SEC Gov was compromised, and we've completed a preliminary investigation. Based on our investigation, the compromise was not due to any breach of X's systems, but rather due to an unidentified individual obtaining control over a phone number associated with the SEC Gov account through a third party. We can also confirm that the account did not have two-factor authentication enabled at the time the account was compromised. We encourage all users to enable this extra layer of security. More information and tips on how to keep your account secure can be found on our help center. So, yeah, I mean, it is ironic considering these people are protecting the consumers, protecting the investors, and they can't even protect their own Twitter account. So, whatever. They got it over the line, though, the next day. So everyone's happy. You can see here, Bitcoin Magazine sent out a tweet saying Bitwise will donate 10% of their spot Bitcoin ETF profits to open source Bitcoin developments for the next 10 plus years. That's pretty cool. The fact that some of these ETFs are not only potentially going to help support some of the Bitcoin price and volume, but they're also going to be supporting some of the open source development efforts over on Bitcoin, which is great. Updates from James Seyfarth. We see here we have all 9 new ETFs with their DES pages on the Bloomberg terminal. You can see a quick little preview of that if you've never seen a Bloomberg terminal. but you can see they're real. It's out there. People were showing some sneak peeks before some of the news even came out. Yeah, let's scroll up to... you know what? Yeah, we saw a lot of excitement from our friends on crypto Twitter. Gabriel Haynes, he's been putting out some pretty ridiculous, outrageous video content. Worth giving him a listen.
And finally come, Gary! You have finally had to admit defeat! You have finally had to allow the bullets to buy our pants! Let's fucking go, Bitcoin ETF! I am running Bitcoin! Let's go! And finally...
I'm a big fan of Gabriel's content. He normally is not wearing a shirt. I'm surprised he's so clothed right now. Beautiful body on this man. The voice of an angel. Lots of great content coming out. I think the most important content that came out, though, was actually from Commissioner Pierce. Now, Hester Pierce has always been a little bit more on the pro side of Bitcoin, or at least maybe not pro Bitcoin, but pro work with the industry. Don't alienate an entire industry, which is very much what Gary Gensler and parts of the SEC have done. So let's read some of the quotes here from Commissioner Pierce. I think this one's going to be quite interesting for folks. So Hester Pierce put out a press release the same day that the SEC announcement went out, basically lighting up the part of the SEC that was pushing back against this stuff. So first, our arbitrary and capricious treatment of applications in this area will continue to harm our reputation far beyond crypto. Diminished trust from the public will inhibit our ability to regulate the markets effectively. This saga will taint future interactions between the industry and our staff, and will dampen the rich, informative dialogue that best protects investors. Second, our disproportionate attention on these filings have diverted limited staff resources away from other mission-critical work. Over 10 years, likely millions of dollars of staff time has gone toward blocking these applications. Third, our actions here have muddled people's understanding of what the SEC's role is. Congress did not authorize us to tell people whether a particular investment is right for them, but we have abused administrative procedures to withhold investments that we do not like from the public. Fourth, by failing to follow our normal standards and processes in considering spot Bitcoin ETPs, we have created an artificial frenzy around them. Had these products come to market in the way other comparable products typically have, we would have avoided the circus atmosphere in which we now find ourselves in. Fifth, we have alienated a generation of product innovators within our space. Our unreasonable approach to these applications has signaled that regulatory prejudice against new products and services can lead us to sidestep the law and unreasonably delay product launches. The industry has logged hundreds of meetings, has filed submissions, withdrawals, and amendments, and ultimately had to resort to a costly legal battle to get us to today. So Hester Pierce, in my opinion, is one of the most sane voices within the government framework talking about cryptocurrency. Laura Shin has a bit of some updates here. Laura Shin's a great person to follow if you're interested in crypto news. So some key quotes from Hester Pierce's statement on the approval of spot Bitcoin ETFs honestly makes me wonder if it's ever awkward in the SEC office, which for sure it's got to be, right? So today marks the end of an unnecessary but consequential saga. For reasons I have explained many times before, the logic of the long string of denials is perplexing. The Commission has driven retail investors to less efficient means of attaining Bitcoin exposure in the securities markets, until a court reminded us that our unexplained discounting of the obvious financial and mathematical relationship between the spot and futures markets falls short of the standard for reasoned decision-making. We persisted in denying a spot Bitcoin ETP. The Commission, rather than admitting error, offers a weak explanation for its change of heart. We squandered a decade of opportunities to do our job. Very well put. Very enlightening information from Hester Pierce. I very much hope that she were to someday chair the whole SEC. I think this is the type of personality you need in order to bring change and bring some symbiosis into government and Bitcoin and crypto, and spell out clear rules and regulations for crypto companies. People are scared to move into the US. People are scared to work in the US in crypto. Crypto companies are moving out of the US. And while this is great news for ETFs and for unions and the bankers that are going to take advantage of whoever it is that, buys ETFs, enjoy that. Congratulations, guys. It doesn't necessarily mean that crypto companies are going to just immediately begin flourishing. There's still a lot of anti-crypto rhetoric within government, and I would love to see more of this optimistic outlook. So I'm going to end this on my personal favorite Bitcoin fan, Mr. Frankie McDonald, East Coast Canada boy. Good lad, one of my favorites. We're going to give him his opportunity.
Bitcoin!
And that's how we close the show, guys. Like, subscribe. Make sure to follow us on Twitter, Bitcoin.com news. We'll be back again tomorrow with a weekly update. That's it for today. See you guys.